We've been talking about technology and how it's used in customer experience, so we thought we'd talk to a technology provider.
And it's not just information, it's actionable information. The ability to have something that is digestible, that can illustrate an impact, is really the purpose and why we're out there kind of pushing our technology platform.
Our discussion with a world-class provider of experience management technology on this episode of the CX Leader Podcast.
The CX Leader Podcast with Steve Walker is produced by Walker, a business consulting firm that helps our clients unlock the potential of their customer experiences by placing the customer at the heart of all their business decisions. You can find out more at walkerinfo.com.
Hello, I'm Steve Walker, Chairman and CEO of Walker Information, and also the host of the CX Leader Podcast. And thank you for listening, and thank you for continuing to tune in for the episodes that are of importance to you as a CX leader. We continue to explore the issues and the newsworthy items that are affecting the customer experience industry and for professionals that are trying to drive their company's success through customer experience. We've been discussing how you can leverage technology to improve your customer experience, so we've invited Kirk Baetens to join us on the podcast today. Kirk is a global partner manager at Qualtrics, a world-class provider in experience management software, and our technology partner here at Walker. Kirk, thanks for being on the CX Leader Podcast.
Thank you for having me, Steve.
It's a pleasure. We actually have you here in studio in Indianapolis, so welcome to Indiana. Nice to have you. We got some nice, hot, humid Indiana weather, but I know you're a Midwestern guy by background, so it doesn't really bother you too much, does it?
It beats the rain in Seattle, Steve.
All right. So you've been at Qualtrics a short time, but you got a illustrious career in the research profession and so forth. So just for the benefit of our listeners, just give us a little bit of your personal background and how you got to Qualtrics.
Sure thing, Steve. I've spent over the past 15 years within the research industry. My last 8 years have been with a significant research provider running their consolidated industries group, in which anything that wasn't automotive or healthcare related fell under my staff's responsibility.
And at that previous job, this is where you first became exposed to Qualtrics?
Correct.
As a user?
Correct. Came exposed to Qualtrics about 8 years ago. It was actually the program or the software was given to us by one of our clients as a beta test to use.
And you saw some vision there, or you saw the future apparently there.
Very much so. It was an opportunity where we could expedite the process, cut out costs, and really become significantly closer to our end clients and enable them to get closer to their clients.
Yeah, that's during this series, we've really been exploring sort of the evolution and the history of how technology has been affecting the customer experience. So you have a really kind of an interesting perspective on that as you were on sort of our side of the business, and now you've gone to the technology provider.
Thank you for not calling it the dark side.
So just given your perspective of the last few years, how have you seen technology change the business or change the aspects of delivering a customer experience?
Yeah, I would say in CX specifically, technology has probably had by far the most dramatic impact out of any other form of research. It has really empowered end clients and users to be in the moment, to individualize interactions, connections, marketing with their end customers via technology systems, and how fast they're able to communicate very, very powerful amounts of information to end users.
So, Kirk, why don't you talk about some of the things you've seen and maybe some of the best users, the ones that really know how to leverage the platform that they use. What are some of their traits, and how's it, if you even have some examples of how it's paid off for their business?
No, excellent question, Steve. I think the biggest adopters of technology and the ones who are having the most benefit out of it within the CX space are the ones who are embracing actually the information that is coming to them in the content. At times it is a massive waterfall that can come at them with data. Now there are many modes of collecting data through technology, and at times it's a lot to digest. And the ones who are really doing it the best are able to actually leverage that feedback that they're getting back from clients, create, as I mentioned before, that personalized moment. I think the early adopters of technology was really the hospitality industry.
Right.
And they were the ones who wanted to have that example of if you had a bad experience or something was going on, they were going to respond to you immediately and to create that. And then you look at some of the ones who are really taking that a step farther in creating that personalized experience. Amazon is a great example of that. They are a data-consuming machine, and they really want to understand how does that customer shop, how do they behave, what are their influencers, if they've had a delivery problem, how can they resolve it? And all of that CX information is captured through the technology systems that they're incorporating today, and they are leveraging that in conjunction with their CRM systems to really create a holistic experience for that individual.
Yeah, one of the terms that we throw around sometimes is gaining an information advantage.
Very much so.
Technology is really a catalyst to that. It allows you to get more information, to organize it faster, to distribute it faster. And that's how you make great experiences.
Very much so. And I think to that point, Steve, if I could add to it, every company has operational data. That is at their fingertips. It's there. They all know it. Time to delivery, interaction, cost, things of that nature. And I think where technology has really been able to differentiate those who want to embrace it in the CX space is the technology is capturing that X data that is elusive if you only have O data, and that the experiential data is really what's creating that unique scenario for them, and it's really creating, as you just articulated, that differentiator for the organizations who want to adopt technology.
I think the other thing about technology is it sort of democratizes the information. It's not simply a few people who can access the information, but you can really spread the information through the organization much more efficiently.
Very much so, sometimes terrifyingly efficiently.
Well, it's an impact on a culture, and
Yeah.
it changes the way the business operates. But I think that's always been part of the philosophy at Qualtrics, right?
Very much so. Data dissemination and empowering individuals to have information at their fingertips. And it's not just information, it's actionable information. Anyone can have information, but the ability to have something that is digestible, that can illustrate an impact to your organization and insight behavior is really the purpose and why we're out there kind of pushing our technology platform.
We're talking to Kirk Baetens, who is a global partner manager at Qualtrics and an expert in the use of technology to improve experiences for customers, employees, and other experiences that you have in a business. And we're talking about the power that today's platforms are bringing to the customer experience. Kirk, how about the other end of the spectrum? You know, what kind of things have you seen where people don't take advantage of the technology, or maybe there's issues that inhibit the organization from really making full use of it? What are some of the pitfalls or the things that happen that don't allow the technology to flourish?
Another good question, Steve. I think when you get into situations where you look at potentially organizations that have legacy systems, they've had something in place for an extended period of time, and it's that fear of switching and what does it do? And they stay content with, well, I have a score every month, and is that score going up or down? And really following that trend line, and what that's almost inhibiting them from doing is growing. And there is technology out there. In conjunction with technology, there are providers such as a Walker who can go in and provide that consultation. So you have the data feed coming in, you have a broader spectrum of insights at your fingertips than that historic machine. And then having that partner in there and having them walk through the ecosystem and coaching them on that data is really the key. And the biggest pitfall out there is change and change management and the inability to adopt. There are times, and I think there are many folks out there, especially on the client side, who can say, hey, this is my career, this is my job. If I don't do this right, I'm going to be out of one. And getting over that and getting that trust factor in there and to say, hey, the technology is actually here to help and really empower your organization to go to the next level.
Yeah, we remind our listeners of that often, that their job is not to just keep score.
Right.
Their job is to actually help try to win the game.
Very much so.
Yeah, and so that's a good tip, and that's again what technology can do for you, is it can give you that advantage and help you win the game. One of our tenets of the podcast, Kirk, is to make sure that we give users take-home value. So if I'm a CX leader out there and I'm thinking about how I might be able to leverage technology better, what quick start guide would you give to a user out there that's thinking maybe I could upgrade my technology?
The first is understanding truly what the end game is. If it is simply to keep a system going, as you said, keep score of something, there's lots of technologies very cheap that can do that, but understanding if you're trying to impact change, what the end game is within an organization, because then once that decision has been made, deciding what avenue of technology to go down and which to incorporate and bring in, because there are so many out there right now, it really helps facilitate that. But going in and just saying, hey, I need this score isn't going to get you to step one.
And what about maybe if I've already got some technology, but I'm struggling getting the organization to use it?
Excellent question. That's really where organizations such as Walker come into play. Coming from a tech provider side right now, that isn't our game. You really need to have a service partner in there who understands your business, who's looking to help you and coach you through that system. And if you have a system in place that isn't being optimized, that's where that partner and that service partner comes in to educate the organization, communicate out how it can be used and how it can be leveraged to improve their operations.
And finally, take us into the future a little bit. I know you're not, but
Nostradamus?
No, I mean, where do you see this thing headed? And obviously you've got a great viewpoint in your position at Qualtrics and sort of seeing how this has been revolutionizing a whole category, really, of how organizations manage the customer experience information.
Big question, Steve. Very big question. Coming back from as you had mentioned before, being on the service side, I have seen the change go from mail surveys to telephone surveys to suddenly the web came out, and that was groundbreaking. And what's interesting about technology is how it is really at an exponential rate right now is starting to completely turn the industry, the research industry, on its head. Now end users have what used to be advanced analytics, having to run reports, they have full access to that. Anything that is quantitative in nature, if there's text coding, messaging, processing, any type of analytics around sentiment is now at your fingertips via technology, and they are really creating systems that enable and empower end users to have the ability to process, analyze, understand information in an incredibly user-friendly manner. You think about video and how it has progressed now, and now video open ends are almost commonplace.
Yep.
3 years ago, it was almost unheard of. It was groundbreaking. Now those are pretty standard, and that's just an escalation in that process of improvements and enhancements to technology is only going to increase exponentially year over year over year.
Yeah, I guess one thing we can say for certain, it's not going to go backwards, right? We're only going to have more and more tools that we can use.
Oh, very much so. Digressing back, I don't think is going to be a situation that will happen. And it really, if you think about it, it's going to be a lot more predictive analytics. And if we do this, what is going to happen? How is it impacting our organization if we shift and pivot? And those are all things on the near horizon.
Yeah, and I think I've seen a little bit of the preview of what you guys are working on with the Stats IQ and
very much
how much more of that is going to just be built into the software that a few years ago required very sophisticated human.
Yes, needing a PhD in statistics was definitely necessary. And one of the goals, at least from a Qualtrics perspective, is trying to empower those individuals with that type of an analytical resource at their fingertips.
Yeah. I think actually, again, it's going to provide opportunities for people that embrace the technology to really expand in their career and really touch even more parts of the process just by leveraging the tools that are going to be available.
I would say not even 10 years ago, early adopters ran a risk, and there was that fear. And we are at a point now from a technology standpoint that if you don't begin to embrace the changes, you will be left behind.
Absolutely.
And it's just become the standard now and the norm.
Yeah. Hey, Kirk, I really appreciate you being on the show. Anything we didn't cover that maybe you wanted to get in there?
No, Steve, this has been excellent. I appreciate the opportunity.
Hey, well, thanks again, and hopefully we'll be able to get you back on again some other time.
Sounds wonderful, Steve. Thank you.
Kirk Baetens is a global partner manager at Qualtrics, and Kirk has been a great guest and also a great partner with all of our friends at Walker. And if you want to talk about anything we discussed here on the podcast today, or how Walker can help your business customer experience, you can contact me here at steve.walker@walkerinformation.com or call me here in the U.S. at +1 317 843 8890. Don't hesitate to reach out to me, and I'd love to tell you more about what Walker can do and also what we can do with our friends at Qualtrics. Don't forget to subscribe to the CX Leader podcast. You can go to walkerinfo.com/podcasts, and you'll also find links to iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Play. And we've started posting our podcast to our YouTube channel as well. You can find those at youtube.com/walkerinformation. Thank you for listening to the CX Leader podcast, which is a production of Walker. We're a business consulting firm that can help you make customer experience your biggest competitive advantage. Find out more at walkerinfo.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.